Hello there everybody, welcome back to another MapleStory related video. It's Monday Maple Musings, where we take a look at the subreddit over the last week and we kind of just been see what's happening. Though this week I think the majority of the content's going to be focused around the KMS Crown Showcase, and then this nicely laid out TLDR by the good old mod Bacon Bits. Shout out honestly to this dude, he's been doing a lot for the subreddit, especially since I've been paying attention to it over the last, like, I don't know, couple months at least. I'm sure it's been going on for longer than this too, but this dude, low-key, has been going fire, so... He doesn't know who I am, he'll never hear this, but shoutouts to this dude. He's doing good work. Or they're doing good work, excuse me. Shouldn't assume that every person, by default, on the internet is just a dude. Old habits die hard, though, am I right, fellas? But they have put together this lovely showcase. It's basically just screen caps and a TLDR summary of each individual piece of the MapleStory Crown Showcase. So if you're not familiar, KMS has two major updates basically every year. They have their giant summer showcase and then they have their giant winter showcase. And it's the inverse for us. We usually get the winter showcase stuff for our summer update and we get the summer showcase for our winter update. Makes sense? It's just kind of how the development cycle ends up working out for us. So expect to get the winter show, this winter showcase stuff around summer. It obviously doesn't always line up one-to-one, but that's generally what you can expect. And then obviously the disclaimer here, this post will only cover the things he deems important to GMS only. Things like Maple Lamp theme park stuff will be skipped. Control 5 to go into slideshow. I'm not going to be doing that. I'm just going to use my little scroll wheel. And we're going to do it like they do old style. Basically, the first thing, though, that they showed was the new common Hexa 6-job skill, which is going to be Soul Hecate. Soul Hecate! Basically, this... I was trying to think of a better way to describe it, but basically this is like having a pseudo party member, basically. It's a summon... Here, we'll just read the bullet points. It's a bossing summon. New skills, more damage is unlock as you level it. When it's level 1, it has a new skill called Sticks. It does damage and does a critical bind, or crit bind. So it's 4 second, 0, so / Mo Xuan. Unique bind, so it's crit bind. Meaning, if you use your regular bind, and then you use this new skill, and its bind, it will make the default bind go from 10 seconds to 14 seconds. It will add on to the bind timer. It's crit bind. Critical bind, so to speak. So to speak. And then level 10, it gets an attack enhancement. Level 20 upgrades its form, and it gets a new skill. Charon, I assume it's supposed to be Charon. Charon. Fucking Greek shit is hard for me to pronounce. I don't know what I'm doing. But if you die, it keeps you alive, gives you a 10-second iframe. So it's basically like a door that has a cooldown of 10 minutes that also gives you a 10-second iframe, which this shit seems insanely broken. And then level 30, it gets another new form and it gets a new skill. It's a 2-minute cooldown burst skill, which, again, basically just... This is why I say it's essentially like a pseudo-party member, almost. Because it's insane. But again, remember, since this is a common skill, this is going to cost like nearly 7,000 fragments to max, so it's going to be a very expensive investment. But it seems like it's going to be a very worthwhile investment, given how overpowered, quote-unquote, Soul Janus is. Soul Hecate is going to be just right up there with it, right? And honestly, I think having common skills that are insanely powerful and insanely strong is good. Like, I think this is a good thing. Because everyone benefits from this. Everyone. And it makes it feel good to work towards this common skill that every other class in the game can get too, you know what I mean? Like, imagine like the common skills were just like lackluster, limp little noodle shit. You wouldn't feel nearly as good maxing it out as you would like something like Soul Janus or fucking Soul Hecate. Like, this shit is good. I think it's fire. And then the UI on the right shows you can link it to one of your class abilities. So basically you can link it to whenever you press like your burst button, it will also use its burst too. So you don't have to like manually use the skills. which is good. New boss, obviously, everybody knows new bosses are coming. Brilliant Darkstar's new boss, one of Darmore's 12 disciples, not Ymir. Yeah, I mean, its name is Brilliant Darkstar. I could have assumed that, you know what I'm saying? It's another 3-party boss, which I think is good. I do wish they would have, like, some sort of dynamic scaling between 1 and 3. I don't know how you would do it to make it, well, I was gonna say I don't know how you would do it, but there's no, like, mechanics that require a certain amount of people, so you just scale the health of mobs. I don't know, dynamic scaling up to 3 would be nice to see, but it being 3 party members down from 6, I think is a big step in the right direction in general. Scheduling is always miserable, and basing bosses around, like, a full party of 6 people just... it's not it, man. It really isn't. This is sort of a mid-game-ish boss that is designed to be more accessible, kind of like the first adversary, and you can see here in the screenshot sort of where they place the difficulty of this respective boss. So, like, the hard mode version is right in the middle between Limbo and Baldrix. The normal version is between X-Lot and Normal Calling. Overall, I think it's fair to still consider it like an endgame boss, just not an ultra endgame boss like Extreme Calling or the new boss, which we'll get to in a moment. I think it's slide 5 is the new boss. But obviously it drops the level 250 ring. It drops a level 250 ring, excuse me. Another ring. So this is another boss drop ring, and it's part of the Brilliant Boss set. The 4-set bonus is crit damage, much like Pitched. So it seems like there's going to be a reasonable path to transition out of Pitched coming, which is interesting. Obviously, it's not going to be feasible for a lot of people, and it's not going to be feasible for a very, 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 very long time, especially until we get, like, the entire Brilliant boss set to come out. But it's interesting to see it happening in real time, you know? And then they announce also the Astra secondary weapon, which is basically... imagine the Destiny weapon, but they did that for the secondary. Works like an in-between liberation between your Jenny Lib and Destiny Lib, turning your level 100 secondary and upgrading it. You collect fragments, currency in the left image. You can get blue ones from killing bosses. They're tradable in the auction house. The red ones are on the right from Grandest dailies, and they're untradable. No boss quests associated to get this, just enough currency. 3 stages to the upgrade. First upgrade is 15 star, second is 20, third is 30 star. They're level 200 in all 3 stages. You keep your potential and everything with this. I think when GMS gets this, I would be highly, 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 highly surprised if they don't change this to allow us to use Pinot secondary with it. Because Pinot isn't in KMS, like, it's not KMS content. So they use their regular, like, level 100 secondaries. I assume it'll work with Pinot secondaries. If it doesn't, I don't know, man. There will be a lot of people upset, and I think rightfully so upset. But I think it'll be a GMS exclusive thing, where it's like, obviously, it'll work with Pinot secondaries. Because if it doesn't, we'd be dumb as hell. Especially since it keeps your potential. Like, that's the big thing here. It keeps the potential. It's exactly the same thing as, like, Jenny to Destiny. It keeps everything, which is really, really cool. It just adds stats by allowing you to star the secondary. Which, well, we'll see. And then this is the endgame boss. New boss, Jupiter. This is the new endgame boss. Level 295 requirement. Good fucking lord. Max of 3 party members. Again, I would like to see dynamic scaling 1 to 3, but I get it. Split room boss like Calling P1, Baldrix P1, P2. I mean, I don't know about Baldrix. I've never done it. But Calling P1, God, I wish they would fucking change Calling P1. It's miserable. I do not find it fun. And then this guy drops a new face accessory, Original Sin of Arrogance. It's part of the Brilliant Boss set. The 5-set bonus is 15% boss, so again, much like Pitched, but just slightly better. And then you can see on the difficulties meter kind of where he falls. He falls, normal mode falls in between hard First Adversary and hard Limbo, and then the hard version is harder than E-Calling. So, basically unclearable for all intents and purposes. And then the new 295 zone, which is geardrak. I read this and immediately thought about WoW, especially since the picture itself kind of looks like Zoldrak. I was like, damn, are we playing WoW right now? Geardrak lore has to do with the new boss Jupiter, comes with a new symbol, works just like Talahart symbol. Max level, same shit. 50 XP, 15 meso drop. Better 275 leveling is coming in the patch. So what they're doing is they're not lowering the experience curve necessarily, but what they're doing is they're adding more sources of experience and more ways to get those sources of experience and increasing the existing sources of experience. So what they're doing is they're raising the experience of epic dungeons, High Mountain Angler Company, more XP. Extreme Monster Park scaling improved. Previously it falls off hard after a certain point. Monster Park is added for Shangri-La, Arteria, Carcion, and Talahart. So pretty good. And then another big thing is Monster Park, you can run up to 14 times a day, but you can only do 7 runs max on a single character. So what this means is it's basically essentially mirroring what they did with Extreme Monster Park, where they made it so you get slightly less experience from Extreme Monster Park, but they allow you to run it on 2 characters a week instead of 1. And I think this makes a lot of sense because of the Legion Champion system, so they want you to be able to progress multiple characters at the same time, because it seems very obvious to me that if they had just added, like, Talahart Monster Park, then everybody would be forced to essentially run Talahart Monster Park on their main to level it up, since it's going to be a large source of daily experience relative to how much time you put in, right? So this is why they added this, but the problem with adding that is it adds a lot of time. You're basically going to be doing double dipping Challenger World shit every day by default now, which is fine. It's just a dangerous line to toe, I think, because I think we can get into a position where we're adding a ton of additional chores just because we are making them doable on multiple characters, but we have to kind of make them doable on multiple characters, almost. I don't know. I mean, I think this is fine, but I think we need to be careful, you know, about where we go with this in the future. And then they also added a 280 plus strawberry farm-like map. It's called Mecha Strawberry. In the test world, it was 1.9% for someone at level 292. Yeah, the screenshot was like 1.9% in 20 minutes at 292, which is probably between like 5 and 6T experience in 20 minutes, which is a lot of experience. But this is like an event thing specifically, and I think you can only do it like once or twice a week. It's much like Punch King, I would kind of compare it to. So it's really good that this exists, but don't expect this to be like a daily thing, is all I'm trying to say. Overall, I think this is really good, and it helps smooth out the leveling. It doesn't devalue grinding, because grinding is still going to be, I think, almost necessary to get to 295, but this makes it so you can also level reasonably, like, supplementary with events and, like, dailies, which I think is also really important and really good. KMS got level 3 links, but you have to be level 285 to get it. The only good thing about this system, in my opinion, is the fact that you don't need to get the character you want the level 3 link to 285, so if you want a level 285... or if you want the level 3 link for Mercedes, you don't have to level the Mercedes, because you get a tradable medal that you can just give it to the character you want the level 3 link. Yeah, it even explains it here. This way, if you want to level something Mercedes level 3 link, you don't have to level Mercedes. But yeah, GMS, this is a rare GMS W. I guess it's not like a super rare W for GMS, but like this is definitely one of the biggest GMS Ws. 210, much more palatable, much easier. And then another large change is all of the grandest sacred symbols have a special bonus once they're max level. They get 10% experience, and they also get 20% damage against their respective area boss. So like in Carcion, you have a max Carcion symbol, you get 10% XP, and you get 20% damage against Saren. Arcus, 20% damage against Kalos and the XP. Odium, 20% against the first adversary in the XP. Shangri-La, 20% against Calling in the XP. Arteria, 20% against Brilliant Darkstar and the XP. Limbo, Carcion, XP. Talahart, Baldrix, XP. Well, I guess you don't get the XP because Talahart already gives you XP. I don't know. And then geardrak will be 20% against Jupiter. Overall, I think this is, again, another really good thing. 10% XP on its own isn't really that much because of how, like, multipliers work and how additive multiplier, how it's, like, additive, etc., etc. But more experience multipliers, permanent especially, is never a bad thing. Again, this goes into the factor of like them trying to smooth out, not necessarily the curve, but how much experience you can earn just by playing and doing normal things, right? So I think this is overall a good thing. And then the additional damage also helps a lot, right? It just does. Nobody's going to say shit about free damage. Destiny Mission Part 2 also came out. This is like basically irrelevant for 99.99% of people, especially literally everybody in Reboot. This does not matter. Maybe at some point it'll matter for Reboot, but yeah. You have to do the Part 1 Destiny missions, and then you have to clear good old first adversary. You have to clear Limbo, and then you have to clear Baldrix. Yeah. Content is designed for endgame players. Yeah, no shit. No shit. And then Challenger World Season 3, we also got a small sneak peek at this, and then they added a Challenger World Season 3 specific boss, which I think looks very fucking cool. I think her name is Kai. Yeah, Kai. Season Challenger World only boss Kai. She looks like a cyberpunk edge runner type shit. It looks very cool. And this is like the endgame boss for Challenger World. You have to fight her solo. And there's level rewards up to 290 in Challenger World Season 3. There's a bunch of different changes in Challenger World Season 3. Most notably, there's going to be a Shining Star Force every 2 weeks. She drops things like Meso, Soul Earth Energy Fragments, Accessories, Eternal Armor. Very cool. And then there's also like a double up mechanic in Challenger World Season 3. And there's also a duo mechanic. So you can think of it almost as like group Iron Man from something like RuneScape. You can partner up with a friend in Challenger World to get shared experience when training. Bossing will also give you bonus rewards. There's not too many details about this, but I think the system itself is pretty cool, and I'm thinking of it more like group Iron Man from something like RuneScape. And then Challenger XP Duo. This is like the double up thing, like the champion double up. Collect experience, or you collect points on your Challenger World character. You can send those points to your homeworld character for experience. This was added to lessen the feeling of wasted time since you're missing out on your homeworld character doing Challenger World. I think this is kind of cool, especially if they want to incentivize older players to do Challenger World, more so than just like a daily thing. We'll have to see how this ends up looking, though. Hyper Burning plus Item Burning. Item Burning got an upgrade. Item Burning can go to as far as 22 stars once you complete the harder missions. You can see they added some extra missions. Hilla, Saren, Kalos, Adversary. So this shit goes pretty bananas now, but I think it's needed, especially since they were expanding the level cap and rewards on Challenger World itself to 290, and then also adding Kai as like the endgame boss, level 280, you can see. It's like slightly harder than Saren, slightly easier than E-Calling. But yeah, winter event, I'm not going to look at this too deeply. Kinesis Remaster is another big thing, modernized look. 50% more Jinwoo vibes. They moved PP, so he's now PP-less, which is very disappointing for some people. Can no longer play with your PP, as they say. This is also a really funny thing. Added in-game voice chat support links with your Discord. Why would you ever want this? Why would you ever want this? Buff manager system. Buy all buffs you need in a single UI/store. This is very good. Elixirs no longer expire, so like the collector elixirs, thank fucking God. There's a new elixir that gives you the fame buff, level 300 chair equivalent without having to fame. Soul UI, world meso. All your characters' meso will be updated into one meso account. That meso will be account bound and universal. No matter what character you log on, the meso will be combined and follow you. This is probably good, but it's going to make me low-key kind of sad, because I like having all of my boss mules just hold onto their meso until I need it, and then I siphon it, and then I'm like, wow, I'm rich. But ultimately, I think this is a good thing. Less having to fuck around finding your meso, moving meso, etc. They revamped the V-Matrix point system and made the UI different. No more having to guess, do I make 50 more cores? It'll just tell you. Shortened 6-job pre-quest even more. They added a sex change coupon instead of just making everything unisex. God bless. No more Legion coin costs for upgrading Legion levels is low-key kind of nice. Doesn't matter for most people, but I think it's just a nice thing to have. This is also another really big thing, AI character profiles. I low-key hope we get this, and maybe this is a controversial opinion. I don't really know how people feel. I know people dislike generative AI in general, and I definitely can understand why, and I think it's generally probably pretty bad, generative AI specifically. I think AI has a lot of use cases. in like medical fields and stuff. But for generative AI, I understand it's bad and it's probably not good. But I think this is one of the few applications where generative AI is actually kind of cool. And the only thing you would need to make sure is that the model is trained on like in-house Nexon staff, you know what I mean? Like, obviously, if they're just using generative AI from like fucking like Gemini or ChatGPT or Midjourney or some bullshit like that, then obviously this has all the same problems as other generative AI. But if they're using their own in-house like system that's trained on their own in-house artists, I think this is fucking sick. Basically what it does is it takes a snapshot of your in-game character and its look, and it will generatively like create a picture of your character and put it into like dialogue boxes. Does this really end up mattering in the long term? No, but does it add to the like immersion of like it being your character? Yeah, of course, and I think that's really, really cool. You know what I mean? Especially since this isn't taking away like any sort of work from anybody. And if it was ethically trained on their own artists and their own engine in-house, I think this is as good of a use for generative AI as you will ever find. Because they were never going to have an artist draw every combination of, like, NX outfits for your character and do this manually. It just wouldn't never happen, right? So I think this is really cool. But let me know what you guys think. Maybe I'm just missing something completely. To me, this seems as good as it's going to get, though, for generative AI usage. And I think it's really cool, like I said. Because I do. I think it's cool. And then the first comment on the thread. Thunderbreaker can destroy the new boss easily. Thunderbreaker's translated thing has to do with women. Let's just say. WAI change. Okay, so people do like the AI stuff. WAI change. I love how immersive this makes the game feel. Yeah, I mean, it's really cool. It can barely get the details right on like half the characters they showcased. I mean, it looks fine to me. Like, obviously, minor shit is never gonna get picked up, but all of these examples look fine to me. I don't know. But also, I mean, it's probably in the early form. I don't know. I think it'll be fine. Upgrade mechanism for secondary is a massive win. Hoping this will apply to all secondaries so people who got Princess No or Revolving don't get shagged. I would highly implore Inkwell to use some of those brain cells and make sure it applies to all secondaries for GMS. Because if he doesn't, then good fucking lord, what are we doing? Apparently classes with unique secondaries have been accounted for, although I'm not sure what each class solution is. So this is good sign. But anyways, I think that'll do it. I've yapped for long enough. Thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know what you guys think about the showcase. I personally think it's pretty cool overall. I think it's positive. It might not be the most exciting showcase we've ever had, but I think it's pretty good overall. Very little complaints. Anyways, let me know what you think. Like the video if you like it. Subscribe. I'll see you guys on the next one. Bye!